going to tell you a little bit about what he does. And then he really just wants to help you. He wants you to see what it's like so you can experience it for yourself. And if anybody is willing, we have a chat box, and you guys are welcome to say, yes, I'm open. So, Gavin, that leads me into a good question. So Gavin has been a computer programmer, but he also works with the programming of our subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is a tricky thing to get around. Those programs in the background, Gavin, run unconsciously. And I believe we're going to talk a little bit about the manifestation of emotions in the body and what you're able to do. So share a little bit about how you got into this while we're bringing people on, and let people know how you got into doing this, and then what you expect of them if they want to experience this.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you, Sandra, for having me on. It's a privilege to be here, and welcome everybody else to Facebook Live and to Zoom. Thanks for joining us tonight. So yeah, I mean, this is really exciting for me to be here. I always love to share this kind of work, especially because when you start sort of digging deep on this kind of work, you really understand how, as a medical intuitive, it's kind of like like a computer system, reading information, right? The body is sending us information. The body is sending us messages, and those messages kind of come back at me sort of like a feedback machine, right? So tonight we're going to be demonstrating that and really showcasing how our memories and our beliefs and our thoughts are really creating our reality. They're creating, maybe some emotional disturbances, maybe some physical. So I'm always going to kind of go back to those memories. I'm going to go back to those belief systems, that we're holding, right? And the body is going to just give me messages. It's going to send me, what's going on. And I'm just going to read that information, right? So I got started in this about 10 years ago, when I really started to kind of dig deep on myself, try to figure out, stuff that I couldn't solve, through traditional methods. Sometimes those methods are necessary, but for me, I wasn't getting success, so I wanted to kind of think outside the box. And I started to realize that everything that was happening in my life was because of my memories, the things that I held from childhood or beyond relationships or whatever. And my body was actually sending me a message. It was actually telling me something. And so I needed to start listening to that, right? So then I started helping other people sort of hear those messages, because I find, I don't know about you, Sandra, but it's like we didn't grow up in this environment where we were told, okay, you have a headache, there must be something emotional that's causing that, right? We think if it's physical, right? And I would say, just in my opinion, it's not. It's emotional, and there's some kind of belief system that connects you with that headache or that back pain or whatever it is. So some people have said to me, no, that has to be physical. Could there just be something physical and not emotional? And what I found is, 100% of the time, it's something emotional, right? Unless somebody's been, in an accident, or, something's happened like physically to their body. But other than that, emotions are going to be running the show, right? So I kind of became the belief reset guy, walking, talking belief systems. That's how we operate.
We do. We do. Everything is energy. And the reason why I really want to bring this to the forefront to help you understand a little bit more about Gavin's work is that now Gavin and I do two completely different things, right? Gavin's got a beautiful skill, a beautiful talent. I always said I wanted to be a healer. And all my friends will say, but Sandra, you are one. Well, I just do things in a different way than Gavin. Gavin's got highly tuned into his senses, right? And one day, now just a little backstory, if you don't mind, Gavin. Gavin and I have been working together. We run a business for somebody else, okay, in the energy medicine space for a couple of years now. So I knew Gavin as the programmer guy. And then one day I had an issue, and Gavin said to me, do you mind this? I do this. Do you mind? Are you open? Because part of healing, Gavin, right, is your intention, but the receiver has to be open to receive. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. Mhm.
So I was open to receiving. And Gavin said, one of the things he said to me was, "You're dehydrated." And, I thought of all the things he could have said to me, right? He said, "You're dehydrated." And I'm thinking, holy cow, he's 100% right, because I'm at my desk all day and I have to go that way to get water. And so if my glass runs out, 3 hours could go by. And so everything he said was right on the money. Now, mind you, he did know a little bit about me, but there were things that he said that were not related to what he knows. So one of the things that I wanted to say about the emotions is that his work and my work are different. I can see emotions with a software that I have, right? I don't have the skill yet to be able to see them the way Gavin sees them, but I know that they're there because my software will show me. I also work with tuning forks. So that's an energy technique, right? It tells you there's something stuck out there. So, guys, this is so real and so valid that I would say, Gavin, the majority of your aches and pains are not physical like you think. They are emotions.
Oh,
Would you say, Gavin, in your field,
yep,
they're trying to get your attention? Is that right?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I would say that you are really having a physical symptom, so it's not like imagination. But we're looking for the root cause of something. Typically, I find this is especially true with chronic pain, because people go to doctors and they go to scans and they get all this information about their bodies, but nobody finds anything, generally speaking. So that's where we have to look into the emotions, right? We have to look into the root cause of why that's happening. And we can actually demonstrate if people have pain. We can demonstrate that right on the call. Tonight.
Sure. And I just want to let you know that I have a friend who's on here tonight, and I shared her result with you today. I think it was, Gavin, that she had seen you on Susan Schatzer's High Vibe, or I don't know if it was the High Vibe Tribe, but I know it was Susan Schatzer did a Facebook Live. My friend jumped on, Joanne, and she called me. That she was trying to call me, but I didn't answer the phone till the next day. And the next day, I said, so she started to tell me how validated you made her feel like. So one of the things that I think you did, the way I heard it, was that it was like an awakening for her, Gavin. It was like a recognition that something you said made so much sense that it caused a shift in itself. So I thought that
Right.
was really powerful. So look, we are here for you tonight. And I'm going to let Gavin speak about some of the things that he works with, but please feel free in the participant section. You should be able to raise a hand if you want Gavin to work with you, because again, you have to be open. You have to say yes. I'm fine with you doing whatever it is you do. Okay, awesome, Gavin. Charlotte, you want to unmute yourself? How are you, Charlotte?
Hi.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
Charlotte.
Sandra. Hi,
Thanks for
Gavin.
coming
Hi,
up.
everyone.
How
Nice
are
to
you?
see you.
Yeah, so I'm struggling a lot with my health, a lot. So, I don't know what you want me to start talking about, Gavin, or if you want to start or what, but, this hasn't been my whole life. This has been about, 3.5 years plus, and it got worse, this spring and summer, and I could describe why, but, I've been really struggling. So I don't know what you want to do about.
Okay, well, if you feel comfortable talking about something that is affecting you, right? I could tell you what I see right off the bat, just generally speaking with you, or you can tell me like a particular issue, and I can zero in on that.
Yeah, could you tell me just right off the bat, just to kind of start?
Yeah, sure. The first thing that came through for me was this feeling of, like things not going right for you. Um, so it was kind of like you're trying things, you keep trying, and things just not working out. So it's kind of like effort. I would call it effort not received. So you put out a bunch of effort and you're not getting things in return. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the first thing that came out. So what happens is when this sort of energy gets trapped in your body, I mean, it could affect a whole range of issues, right? But I would say, I could clear that, but just for your own, mindset, it's kind of like releasing this sort of need to feel like things have to be right. You know, there's more of a feeling of, okay, you're trying things and different things are coming up, and you're in your mind it's a perspective, you're not being successful necessarily, in your mind, but it's just about trying different things, putting things out there, and it's all part of the game. It's all part of the journey. It's all part of you moving forward. Is just trying different things and seeing what works for you. Instead of it being like a failure, things are not working out, you're not receiving things in return. Does that make sense?
Um, well, I don't know. Should I talk a little more about what's going on with me, or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's hard, like you said, release the need to feel that things have to be right. It's hard to do that because I literally feel like I can't breathe a lot of times. Like I feel like I can't get enough oxygen. I don't have enough energy. I have a feeling that I mean, I don't know if did you have any readings on that? Because I have a feeling, I mean, I've tried a lot of different avenues. You're right about that. I've definitely tried a bunch of stuff. But there's something physically really going on. And my body's not right. And so I don't know, do you have any ideas?
I mean, there's definitely suffocation, in terms of the breathing, right? So what happens with this work is sometimes, you do a reading on somebody. I mean, we have so many thoughts and feelings and emotions, right? So we have so much going on at one time, and then we kind of focus on one area, and then we get a little bit of a different message. However, in this case, it does feel a little bit related, so it's like there's a suffocation, you can't breathe because so many things are not sort of like working out, you know, that you want to be working out, right? So that is still a physical issue that you're experiencing, but the emotional connection with that is the suffocation of not being able to breathe and just relax. And let's see what else I see there. There's something else here. It's like being able to just accept and go through the process, right? Because it feels overwhelming and it feels like, difficult to move forward, right? So there's kind of like a suffocation, and then your breathing is actually being affected by that. Does that make sense?
A little, a little, a little.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think that what we've kind of come up with, because I've been to a functional medicine MD, so we took a lot of blood tests, is I have a feeling I'm not using my iron. It's like there's this whole like copper, iron, magnesium balance and mineral balance. And I have a feeling that I'm not showing up as anemic on my blood tests, but I don't think I am absorbing my iron according to some of the blood tests. I forget what he said, but I have oxidative stress and I'm not using my energy. So there's something physical as well. I don't know if you see that, or if you could do any kind of a clearing at all for anything emotional that's causing this too. I mean, I feel like there's probably an emotional component, but there's probably a physical component for sure.
Okay, but you
Is
gotta
what I'm
see
feeling.
well, you have to kind of get around the fact that those are the same thing,
Okay.
right?
You
Does that
mean,
make sense?
yeah. So are you saying that if I could fix my emotions, the physical thing would kind of be solved?
Yes. I don't see the iron thing in any great issue. I mean, if you're stressed out, you're not going to absorb the nutrients at the same level. Yes, I see a little bit of that, but it's more of the emotion, that's just showing up. So this is kind of like my introduction, right? It's like the body is sending you a message, right? So I'm not saying for you not to take iron, and those are good things, right? But the actual breathing issue, is related to that emotion, right?
And
The
breath is
overprocessing
life.
of information, that, is just not processing correctly. It's the perception of your reality, which is, things are not working out. It's
So
just showing up that way. Does that make
so
sense?
what could I do? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little. Yeah, it does. It does. So what can I do? Just tell myself things are working out, or
Well, what I would have to do, I can do the process right now, and you'll probably feel some relief. I have to release those emotions, right? I mean, asking you just to release them yourself is probably not. Um, it's probably hard for you to do that because it's your own emotion, right? You're having these experiences, and they're real experiences. They're not fake, you know. So I just honor and respect everything that you're going through, right? Right? But if you're not getting answers and things are not working out and things are not moving forward, there's like a stagnant, stuck energy, and then it's suffocating your lungs, right?
Mhm.
And causing you not to, breathe properly, and then that would affect your energy. And so it's a ripple effect, right? So just to be clear, you're 100% having physical symptoms, right? It's just like, what is the root cause, you know? And the biggest thing is just, what I see again, let me just double check. It's like putting forth effort and not receiving the same back of what you feel you're putting out there. Does that make sense?
I guess so, and not receiving same back.
Maybe not that this is going to help a lot, but I just want to kind of corroborate something that Gavin is saying that I see with some of the tools that I have. So like I mentioned, I have a software that shows where people are holding energy, holding emotional energy. And I can move some of that with a tuning fork. And one day I was working with somebody, and as I started to work with her, I put the tuning fork on like underneath, like here, and here, right under the clavicles. And what I see a lot is that I can tell when people aren't breathing, right? So what Gavin was saying was that there was like a holding of emotions that you can't move, overwhelming. So what do we do when we're overwhelmed? We typically breathe very shallowly, right? And we don't get enough air. And so it kind of sounds like I can understand where he's coming from, because I see that too. And sometimes even with, like a clearing, like working with Gavin, or, the tuning forks have some benefit as well. But there is stuff there. Let me just put it that way. There is stuff in your field, and he sees it in a different way than I see it. But it's definitely hard to fathom that what you're feeling could possibly be emotional. And I totally get that, but I've experienced that myself with neck and back pain. So, and I'm saying this is physical pain, this is real. Oh, yes, it is. But what I'm seeing from other people was that it was sort of like an anxiety, like a spinning, they were spinning their wheels, doing, but not really getting anything done. And there was literally a sense of holding their breath. It was like an anxiety or a stress, something like that. So I just wanted to throw that in there, but it just reminded me of that. He sees it in a different way as a physical energy, and I see it in a photograph as a physical energy, but I don't see it or sense it myself. But that's what came to mind. So Charlotte, do you have any more questions for Gavin? Pamela is next. If you want to raise your hand, hold on, let me just make sure you guys are using the participants key. There's a participant key, click that, and there'll be a hand raise, because I see those better. So I see Pamela and I see Lucky. So, okay, so do you know?
I just want to say, oh, sorry. Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. And Gavin, if you could do a clearing, that would be so wonderful. Just whatever you can do right now. And then if you could do a little something, and then maybe we could hook up later too or something. But I just
do you have breathing problems right now, or?
Yeah, like, yeah, I don't feel great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll check in with you, next 15, 20 minutes. Let's see. We can get that shifted for you.
Oh, you're kind of doing it now, like, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm doing it
thank
now. Yeah.
What?
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing it now. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I know it's not like a magic wand, or whatever. Just be open to receiving.
Thank you.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I'm back. All right, that was my internet.
So, yeah, Gavin, you let me know when you're done, when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Your process is done. Okay. And Charlotte, sit with that for a few minutes. Let Gavin work through some of the other guests, and then can we come back and just see what you might notice before we end tonight? That would be great. So again, I just want to mention it's easier for me because I can see some of you guys raising your hand. That's why I went full screen. But down at the bottom, it says participants. If you click on that, your chat's going to come up on the right-hand side, and there's going to be a raise hand button. And that's the way that I can see you the best, because I can see you, but I'm trying to go in succession. So Pamela, can you unmute yourself? Hi, Pamela. How did you find us tonight?
I found you on a webinar that you did a couple of, maybe a month and a half ago. It was a really good one too. And so I must have gotten on your email list, and I am so happy to be here tonight. You have no idea.
Oh, we're happy to have you. Thank you so much. So what do you want to say to Gavin? And let's see what he wants to say to you. What's going on?
In 2008, I went through hell with my husband in the medical industry. He went in for a surgery that went very, very badly, and there went another one and another one, and then he ended up in rehab for 6 months, and he has passed. But there's a lot of emotions that I have not, and I heard you asking Charlotte, we can't access those ourselves. So therefore, I would be willing to do anything.
Okay.
To get to this.
Sorry to hear about your husband.
Thank you.
What would you say the most prominent emotion that you feel? Like, are you feeling?
It was anger. It was anger for the first several years, but I have a lot to do. Write the book, do all of these things, and I never get them done.
Mm-hmm.
But the anger is I'm no longer there. I'm sure there's still some grieving to be done, but.
Oh yeah. So the first thing that came at me when you first started talking was I just saw the words I have bad luck. So there's like a emotion of luck, just getting screwed, right? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I felt responsible when after he passed, my mother passed, and then my dog passed. I'm like, I'm on a roll or something. So yeah.
I got you, right. So what happens is that energy gets stuck in you, right? And again, like I was saying about, with Charlotte, I mean, everything is, everything that we're feeling, it's like, it's valid. It's not like it's, a figment of our imagination or we shouldn't feel like that. This is not about just having positive thinking all the time.
Try that.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work, right? But we have to acknowledge the emotion, and so that's what I help people do. And then second of all, like I feel like the memories around the husband are not processed, right? So if you think of a computer system, like it kind of like it's hung up in the memory, and then the computer crashes, right? So if we don't process the memory properly, like we just kind of things happen in our life, and then we have to kind of get on with our life, and we don't have time to actually sit with it, and actually feel it, and experience it, right? We got to go to our jobs, or we have to take care of our family, or whatever, right? So when it's kind of unprocessed, it's kind of like stuck inside of us, right? So that would also cause procrastination. I would say it would be very hard to do anything inside of that energy, right? And
I have a son too.
What's that?
I have a son too, and there's the triggers. I look at him, I remember, and then start the process over again. Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of like slugging through mud,
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel that? Okay. So the second thing I saw was there was like a feeling of abandonment. Now, obviously, these people leaving you, I mean, they left you, but not purposely, obviously. But there's this feeling of people leaving you. So kind of like, when I look at the emotions in the subconscious, it's kind of like there's layers, right? So I can see, a couple layers at one time. We clear it off, and then we have more that come up. But basically, it's like I have bad luck. I was abandoned. Nothing works for me. I'm stuck in this. What else is going to happen? And then if you go to do the book or anything else, it's like, what if that doesn't work like everything else? Does that make sense?
Unfortunately, it does.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Well, that's a lot of
exactly.
heavy energy. Let's just release that. Like, let's just
It's,
get rid of that.
it's like you're in my head.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Yeah, so I just have to release all this for you and get the energy processing. It's like if you take a piece of meat, you put it in the freezer, it freezes and it kind of stays frozen, in time for however long we keep it in the freezer. Our emotions are the same way. They get stuck and they freeze, and then they don't do anything, but they sit there on our subconscious, and they cause havoc, right? So I have to release these stuck frozen emotions, thaw them out, and then release them, and then allow you just to be this burden lifted, from you.
Are there some in my legs? Because I notice a lot of things going on in my legs. I don't know why.
That's the over processing. Your basically your computer system, which is your brain, is overloaded, and nothing's processing, so it's getting stuck in your legs. Yeah.
Oh, that's just unbelievable.
Yeah. So that's the
Thank
body
you.
just saying, like, you're holding on to stuff, right? You get that? Not that you're trying to do that.
I want to let it go. I've been wanting to let it go.
Yeah. Okay.
You're a blessing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So
You're a
I'll
blessing.
start that process, and
Thank
what
you.
you'll do is, I'll run the process until it's clear, but you'll just start feeling lighter and lighter, and also, in your own meditation or your own work on this is just like really helping yourself see that, you know, that these things have shown up in your life not because you wanted it, but it didn't actually mean that you had bad luck. It just meant that they happened, right? And we just have to process them out so that you can start living again.
Thank you ever so much.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thank
All right,
you.
we'll check in with you a little bit later.
Okay, so Gavin, before we move on to the next person, I want to do two things. I want to put your email address in here just in case anybody has to jump off, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Because we've got
Absolutely.
a lot of hands up here. So which email address would you prefer people to contact you through if they want to work with you?
Gavin at beliefreset.com.
Okay. All right, so I'm just putting that in there. And then I'm going to be asking, now I do have hands up and I have sort of a sequence here. So the next person was Lucky. And before he comes on, I just wanted to say, like I said, that Gavin's email address, if you want to contact him, is here in the chat. But what I also want to say is if Gavin did help you and you don't realize the benefits for a couple of days, please let us know. We would love to know. Send me a private message or email Gavin, let him know how things are going. I think it's always great when we can sort of hear back how somebody is doing. So Lucky, you can feel free to unmute yourself. I'm gonna drop your hand and I'm moving down the list here, guys. So just hang tight.
Sandra, I got a quick question for you. Are you taping this, recording it where we'll get a
Yes.
copy? Thank you. Because I don't want to try to take notes. I want to be able to listen.
So if you're not on my email list, then try to private message me and say, please put me on your email list and I'll send this out through my list. Some people that are here tonight are on it, some might not be, but anyway, so let's move on with Lucky.
Okay, Gavin, thank you for being here tonight. My situation I've had for over 6 years, I have memory that's like both ends of the spectrum. Long term, my memory is as sharp as it ever was, better than almost everybody's. Short term used to be that. Now a dizzy blonde could beat me. I can't remember anything short term. And I've had it long enough because both of my parents had dementia. It hasn't progressed, so I know it's not dementia. I went to Amen Clinics and got a SPECT scan done, which is kind of like the equivalent to what they do with the heart, where they put dye in to see where blockages are. It showed I had a decreased blood flow to the back of my brain. And
Yeah.
I went to a chiropractor, showed back of my neck was a mess. I got that all straightened out. I went to a massage therapist. I've done everything I can physically to correct that and expected to see results, and nothing has changed. Just trying to figure out what I can do to get the old me back.
Okay. Okay, so the first thing that came at me, so remember, these are the emotions that are creating the physical symptoms, right? So the first emotion that came out was feeling like disrespected, or people not respecting your opinion. And there's like a lack of respect around you as a person. You know, again, this is your perception of the situation. And then when that lack of respect happened, it created some anger. And the anger is actually getting stuck, you know, inside that area. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, again, like I've been saying all night, you know, we have to honor and respect our emotions because they're our emotions and we're allowed to have them, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like free will, right? But we have to ask ourselves, you know, is it productive? You know, and in some cases we don't even know. We have a sense of what we're doing, but I don't expect somebody to say, oh yeah, that's what's causing my memory issue, right? But when we have you know, sort of like this high functioning anger around certain situations, right? There's actually some studies right now that show how our intelligence actually drops. And when our intelligence drops, that's related to memory, right? So our brain really can't function, you know, efficiently as before, right? And if you ever had the experience where maybe you had a moment where you were really angry, all you can think about is this one thing. You really just like focus on one thing, right?
Right.
When our mind is very calm, we can have multiple thoughts at the same time, right? So I feel like what's happened is your brain has kind of gone into a hyper state, just like frustrated with people or things in your life and just not accepting you who you are and trusting your decisions, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
in an area where I took a lot of knives in the back in living in the area that I'm in, and I'm just a couple of months away from selling this house and moving away from this area. So I'll get rid of all of the things that remind me of that bring that anger back. So hopefully that will clear it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, environment has a big factor, let's face it, right? So what I would like to do tonight is just clear the anger, clear that frustration, clear that, you know what, it's not about people not accepting your opinion. It feels like more like just not accepting, you know, a difference of opinion. That's what it feels like. So maybe a little bit fixed within their own belief systems, and you're thinking outside the box, or you're a little bit of a different thinker, you know, and so therefore they're not accepting of that. But that's not a reflection of something wrong with you, right? It has
Right.
nothing to do with you, right? That's their stuff, right?
Okay.
You know, right? So just that can be a little bit of your own work tonight, and just releasing that. The environment change will help, and then I'll release the last stuff, you know, that's really stuck in the brain. And really, literally, like you have to really understand how the brain can get clogged, you know, physically, you know, with this kind of emotion, right? And it'll actually, I believe that it can come back, you know, and you can actually have your short-term memory back. But right now, there's too much hyper brain function. It's at a hyper state, and it can't. It's low functioning, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it can come back because 2 years ago I was in a class, and every Saturday, Sunday for a month, when I was in that classroom, it was a stress-free zone, and I was as sharp as I ever was in that class. I had like total recall. I was blowing the teacher's mind, and then it just shut off just as fast, and I haven't seen it since. And I'm thinking, I know it's there. I saw it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it'll come back, you know. So I'll start that process for you right now, and yeah, keep us up to date on how you're feeling.
I will. Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, my pleasure.
So if you're just joining us on Facebook, you are watching Gavin Ashley. He's a medical intuitive. And what he does is he helps people release limited beliefs simply and easily so they can get past emotions that they find very difficult to get past on their own. The next person, Gavin, is Linda. So Linda, can you unmute yourself and welcome to the call? How did you find us tonight?
Yes, hi. I got an email from you this afternoon, And coincidentally, I didn't have my computer open all day, and there it was. So I thought I better be on here.
Divine
I
intervention,
think it was
as usual.
for me.
So,
Hi, Gavin.
Hi, Linda.
I've had a condition, a colitis condition for quite a few years. It's been diagnosed. I've been to doctors. I did the colonoscopy, biopsies, everything. And they call it microscopic colitis. And it certainly has hampered my lifestyle. And in terms of just everyday living, I've done, I've worked with it. I've had improvement the last couple of years, but I never seem to get a permanent handle on it. It's just there. I tried going to a restaurant for dinner recently, and whatever I had, I was very careful in my selections, but it created a flare up of this condition again. So I do meditate. I do all the holistic practices and journaling. Never been able to get to the root, and I really believe there's a root to this that I'm not aware of.
Okay, so the first thing that I saw was emotion of guilt. It was stuck in the
I'm
stomach
sorry?
area. Emotion of guilt, all right, stuck in the stomach area, and feels like loss of somebody in your life.
Oh yeah.
Potentially incompletion with that person. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Well,
as you think about that, I tend to think as well that typically the stomach area, even in my work, is related to mother or father. And depending on which side it is, if it's the left side, we tend to see it as the mother or the daughter. So the female, something female on that female side of the family.
well, 17 years ago, both my mother and my father died within 2 weeks of each other. And about that time, I started having intestinal problems, but it certainly hadn't grown to the level of colitis. And I thought I was past that, but the fact that when you mention it, and then Sandra, you mentioned mother and father, I think there's a connection yet that I just never been able to move past it. We were very close family. And,
was there anything that wasn't completed in your mind, or?
No, I just always have had this tremendous sense of loss, and not they were ready to leave. They were almost 90 years old. They came into the world a week apart, and they left 2 weeks apart. And
Wow.
At this stage of my life, I'm finding it hard to believe that I'm still processing this. Until you said it now, I didn't even know it was still there. There's been other losses since then, but nothing like that.
I mean, this is the incredible, or I don't know if the word is incredible, but it's the interesting aspect of the subconscious, right? Like we might have been told that time heals wounds, right? I haven't really experienced that. I see people not necessarily processing these things the way that the body would like them to, and then things just progressively get worse, right? So you have the stomach problems right after, right? But years later, it's kind of like, imagine telling yourself something negative. If you said it right now 50 or 100 times, you would start to kind of feel your body tense, right? Can you imagine your subconscious saying something negative for 17 years, right? Slowly but surely the body will break down, and then things will show up, progressively over time, right? So it kind of gets worse, and until it's released, right? Does that make sense?
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So that's why that's why the doctors and they can't find it, right? So let's release that tonight. Let's process all that emotion, and then see what happens. Sometimes there's multiple layers, but let's see if we can get it tonight and get you feeling better.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay, so I'll start that process, and then we'll check in with you a little bit later. One of the things I would like to say to everybody on the call tonight is just, incompletions that we have in our life. It's kind of like open-ended. If we don't have the completion, and sometimes it's hard to get closure, right? So we don't want to be hard on ourselves, but it kind of explains why things are happening to us, right? When we don't have full closure and things just kind of happen all of a sudden, like I said earlier, we kind of have to go on with our lives and stuff, right? But it's not totally complete for us, right? We don't find that, or our body doesn't feel like it's complete, it's kind of open ended. So those are all natural feelings. Just let's do a group process right now just to help some of our collective memories process, on this call.
All right, guys. Gavin, this is so wonderful for people. Thank you. So here's the list as I've got it here. I've got Joanne next, Diane, iPhone, there's no name, and then Catherine. Okay, so again, please let us know how you do, how you feel. I think, Gavin, does this sometimes take a little while to process? Do people typically feel better right away? What would you say people should expect that you've already worked with or that you'll be working with tonight?
It really depends on the condition, right? Especially if we have chronic conditions, right? So, during this process, we can move through things very quickly, but we do have to allow for the body to go through its healing process, right? So I would say tonight the emotions are going to be cleared off. The stuck, frozen emotions are going to be processed. And so that's going to be handled. And then we just kind of have to wait for the body, to show up in its own time, right? And so what's really unique about my process is I'm not sending like healing energy and healing the body, because the body has its own natural healing. What I'm doing is removing the memories and the beliefs that are connected with that, and then allowing the body to go through its natural process. So that could be any time frame, really. But typically, people are feeling something in the first couple minutes, feeling lighter, feeling happier, feeling not as much heaviness, and then days later, they're actually feeling, physical differences.
Okay, so Joanne, you can unmute yourself. You're up.
Hi, how are you, Gavin?
Hi, Joanne.
I'm gonna let you take the role because I got a lot going on, and I think that you can tune into me,
Okay.
and you'd probably get more than me rambling and saying all over the place. Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes
Yeah,
when there's too much, it's too much.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I mean, we have a lot of emotions going on, if we look at, each individual person. So we could have a lot of different emotions, right? Like the first one that stands out, just like emotion coming up of feeling disrespected. That was the first thing that standed out at me, right? And so the disrespect is kind of like, causing you anxiety and stress around people just not respecting your opinion. So that was the first thing. And then that kind of leading you into self-acceptance, right? Accepting yourself, believing in yourself, feeling good enough, feeling like you're worthy, of yourself. So you kind of doubt yourself, question yourself. Do you really believe in yourself? All your perspective on, self-worth and how you relate to other people, right? So it's kind of like, I guess, overarching is just like questioning, second guessing yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just a ball of emotions, because when you're in that state, you're like, am I doing the right thing? I'll hurt this one. Is it good for me? But I'll hurt that one. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's self-doubt. And and then I have Hashimoto's, so that's making, my mind and, all that. But I'm trying to get through my life, but yet I want to make everybody else okay with it. And you're right on. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thyroid is the throat chakra. It's like your self-expression, right? So it's being shut down right now because you feel you can't express yourself, or if you do express yourself, then what will people say, or that sort of thing.
Judgment.
It's some kind of a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah. Judgment rules and people got to stop it,
Yeah. But I would say, I know this is a little bit of an advanced concept, right? But feels like
Yep.
you can take it in. It's like a lot of the judgment that you're experiencing is just about yourself, right?
Yeah.
It feels like it's from other people, but it's like we're
Right.
self-inflicting.
I'm listening and I'm learning though. Sandra teaching me that it's not my baggage. Let it go. And if someone says something, what I'll do is I'll take it in and the rest of the day I'll feel like I'm worthless. Like you said, like I can't be better than I should be,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, let me start with the whole judgment thing and, people not trusting your opinion. And then that will kind of unravel the feelings of, not good enough
Yeah.
and respecting your own opinion. The thyroid, that's a little bit more of a longer journey in my
Yeah.
experience, but it can be healed, right? Because we have to open up that and get you in the self-expression mode, feeling confident with what you say. And then whatever you say, it's okay because it doesn't matter what, you're not here on this planet to be like everybody else. You're here to be unique, different. You didn't come here just to tickle other people's ears, right?
Yeah.
You're here to say something different, right? So if you're up for that, let's do that, instead of you having to feel like you have to conform to what other people feel
Well, I fight
because
to conform, that's for sure. I am definitely a free spirit, but I take sensitivity. I don't like to hurt people. So if, like you said, if they say, oh, no, 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 I'll walk away saying, maybe they're right, and
right, then you take it on, right?
and I babble, so just tell me.
Not speaking your
okay.
truth is what we call that. Is
Yeah.
unable to speak your truth because you're afraid of what other people's take on that will be.
Yeah, I have like a thing where I think it comes back to childhood too. Like, I don't want to lose someone. I don't like conflict. I don't like fights. My dad was an alcoholic, and when he drank, he fought, he hit. So I think that stems back to when I was a child. I don't want anyone to be mad. So I'll suffer and you'll be happy. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll start that process and keep us up to date on how you're feeling.
Okay.
All right. So now before we go on, I have a question. I just sent her a private message. Diane, I know you're here. I see your hand. There's somebody with no name. Her name is iPhone tonight. And she's looking to have Gavin work with her for a moment and she's at work. So I'm just wondering if you're able to stay on, can we work with her first so she doesn't get caught in the middle of calling us while she's working? Or do you also have to get off the line quicker? So if you're okay with that, Diane, you can send me a private message or I'm going to make a full screen. Just give me a thumbs up. I can see you, or I was able to see you. Is it okay? It's okay. All right. So then what we're going to do then, the person who's iPhone, listed as iPhone, we're going to have her unmute herself. Let me see if I can find her here. And you can bring yourself on and then you can get back to work. We don't want to get in trouble.
Oh, thank you for that. My name's Lisa. Sorry, I didn't sign in, so I'm not too sure how to do that.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi there. Hi. Nice to be able to talk to you, actually, Gavin. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a dilemma, or I suppose it is. I cannot evacuate naturally. I can go 2 weeks without evacuating and not really feel anything, and it's been like that for, I don't know, it's normal to me. But I've worked on a lot of problems. As a young child, I was always constipated, especially at night. So everything else was fine. Like I say, I can go 8-9 days and then start getting a bit of bloat and then start feeling uncomfortable. But then I have learnt what foods digest with me and what don't. So that's probably why I can, yeah. And then I end up doing an at-home colonics and have a really good clean out, which, yeah. So, no, help.
Okay, all right. Got it. The first thing that came out was the emotion of you kind of asking yourself why you're not more successful. So it was like a success thing, right? And then as a child, it was like, I don't feel, I feel like there's something, you felt like there was something wrong with you, right? So you kind of took that on, like there was something wrong. And then as you went into adult life, it's like, I should be more successful. Why am I not? Why am I not achieving my goals? I'm kind of, so this energy kind of getting stuck in you around success, goals, meeting them, and allowing yourself to just kind of be in the flow, right? In the flow, right? And so all of that is stuck in you, right? So it's kind of like, it doesn't feel like there's flow, right? So it's kind of like, until I have success, or until I make it, or reach my goals, then I'm kind of like stuck, and your colon is basically stuck. Does that make sense?
Actually, I've never actually thought of it that way. I think I've looked at every other angle since and still not been able to pass that. I guess being like what I probably would have wanted, well, as you say, success. We don't really know what it is we want, but we do get stopped along the track. But now at this stage in life, I wouldn't even, just not probably something that is in the forefront of me. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
So you're just kind of resigned to it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
So there was like expectations that were not met previously about things.
Okay.
Right.
Quite possible.
So when the expectation didn't get met, it kind of got stuck in you, and then it didn't really process.
Yeah.
But you had to go on with your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I did have to get on with the life. Yeah.
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 So that does feel like there was something that, maybe a little bit a while ago, but it was like you were really pushing for, it didn't happen. And then it's kind of like the expectation didn't get met, or a bunch of expectations didn't get met. So it's kind of like you just had to go on, right? But it's still stuck in you, like, like just kind of getting on with life is not really being in the flow, right? Just having to go through the motions, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So-
Yeah. I don't have to visit that one. I've never heard it like that before. So that's that's a good opening actually.
Sometimes
Yeah.
when we think on some of this stuff, we realize how much sense it makes, but we never tie these physical issues to energy. But everything is energy. It's always tied in. We just don't always see it that way.
Yeah. When I was, I don't know, it might have been 4 or 5, I was really afraid of the dark. And I think this is when the constipation started. And I actually heard something, a voice call out my name in the room at night. It was dark and I froze. And I was like that right up till probably like being able to sleep in the dark by myself. I was probably like that right till maybe 8 years ago. 7, started working on that. So I always sort of pinpointed it back to then, but then it's just like, okay, we've dealt with all that, but yeah, so like you say, there's something still stuck. So obviously the success side of it, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like as a child, you definitely felt like there was something wrong. I still see that, in connection with the dark, right? So there's something wrong with you, right? Like things are not working right.
Like I've got a European mother, and I'm actually a New Zealander, so I've got a culturally New Zealand dad and a European mother. And back in the 60s or in the 70s, it was really hard to know where you fitted. So you always felt like you weren't enough, or you could never be something because you're like all the other, families of that race, and we weren't. Like, it was really weird, but that's probably has been my whole life too.
Unfortunately, not good enough doesn't have a vaccine for it. It's just
no vaccine. Sorry.
and here's the thing: as human beings, we're all in the same emotional boat.
Yeah.
These things happen to us all, and so it's just so refreshing to know that there's a way out. And hopefully you begin your way out here tonight.
So would that come
start
in?
the process. Get that all processed for you.
So we've been like wanting the success. Could that go way back then of like not being, like you never about to make it because you weren't of European culture, or it was really would that all come into it, maybe?
Well, yeah, definitely. Like I kind of recognize the accent, but I didn't want to put any energy to that because I didn't
I
want to
live in
interfere with
Australia.
you.
I'm in New Zealand, but I live in Australia, so I've been here for quite a while
Well,
now. But
yeah, it's funny though because my dad is Kiwi.
all
I'm
right,
Canadian,
yeah,
but he was born there, so he would tell you that was kind of the culture, like the forgotten country, cast
yeah,
aside, and Kiwis definitely have that emotion about like the big brother is Australia, you know, and
yeah,
it's hard to make it over there, right? That's why a lot of Kiwis go to Australia. So I think all that emotion can play into it 100%. That was the
yeah,
same thing that my dad felt, and that's why he left, right? You
right,
know,
yeah, yes,
so I would say culturally there is an aspect definitely in there.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
great. Okay, food for thought.
Okay,
Thank you
I'll
very
process
much.
that too.
Thanks for
I will.
stopping in and joining us tonight.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
And thank you, Sandra, and whoever I jumped in front of. Thank you. I thought it'll be just my luck. Someone will walk in the door and want something. So.
I know. I totally understood where you were coming from. Have a wonderful night. Diane,
Thank
you
you so
can
much.
unmute yourself.
I did.
Okay.
Hi,
Yeah,
Diane.
I didn't realize that you had to swipe up to get to see what was on the bottom. That's why I couldn't raise my hand.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So anyway, I figured that out. But I grew up very healthy and energetic, really. I was never sick. And then in my 20s, I ended up being diagnosed with like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. And I've been working on this for 40 years, and I got the pain under control. My diet, my stretching and all that, but it's the fatigue that I've never really been able to get rid of. And the past year I've been working with the doctor who was the first that actually said anything about Epstein-Barr. And it's not active and not contagious, but it still is contributing to the fatigue. And this is 40 years. I'm tired of being tired.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm picking up that is very accurate, around the Epstein-Barr. That does feel very true. What the other emotion that I saw associated with that is like not feeling accepted, within yourself. And the non-acceptance is affecting sort of like a rejection of the body, so the body doesn't feel totally connected with itself or totally grounded with itself, right? And so the energy system, up in from the spinal cord right there's a lot of blockage, and the kidneys feel blocked around this energy, right? So, when you think of vital life force energy coming up from the kidneys, into the brainstem through the spine, all of that is blocked in those areas, right? Feels like those meridians are blocked, and the body's basically saying, yeah, I don't really accept myself, or could be partly of not accepting the disorder. So that's a natural feeling too, right? So it's kind of rejection of self is rejection of the symptoms, right? So, I would say right off the bat, it's just like accepting what you have, accepting the process that you have to go through, that it's showing you something, that something is coming up for you to be seen, right? And then the energy from the kidneys to the brainstem can be restored. Does that make sense?
Well, I certainly haven't accepted. For 40 years, I've been fighting this. So, right, I guess I never have accepted the fact that there's something physically wrong with me. So, I'm not, so what would I do? I'm not sure.
Are you okay with accepting it? Because the body is trying to send us a message, so we don't want to fight it. We want to accept it.
Oh,
and then let it
accept
go.
it because it's trying to tell me something.
That's right,
Okay.
yeah. Which is
But how am I
the overarching belief in acceptance within self, right? Because you think, okay, I'm going to reject the illness. You think that's a good thing, right? But that's rejection of self, right?
Oh, Well, that would make sense.
Yeah,
But
so I
how
was
am I
trying to
ever
see
going to
that.
know what it was trying to tell me? I
Oh,
know
it's
what
really
it was
about,
trying to tell me, actually, because
okay.
I was always doing too much, and I'm retired now. But
Mhm. Did you ever feel in your past, like emotionally, that you weren't accepted by people or things, or?
oh yeah,
Yeah, so that, but you see, the illness is a reflection of our emotional state, right? So in our non-acceptance of the illness, that comes secondary to the non-acceptance of ourselves, the rejection of
okay,
self. Yeah.
okay,
So it's just a physical representation of that. And it's interesting how the subconscious can tell us, well, I'm supposed to not accept this. Like if I accept this, then I succumb myself to the disorder, right? Which is not really true. I mean, I understand why somebody might feel that way, but it's more like, accepting what's happening. It's kind of like somebody wants to lose weight, right? But they're rejecting their body because they don't like the way it looks, right? When they accept the way they look first, then they can lose the weight, right?
okay,
So it's the acceptance of self and this disorder. Thank you for showing up exactly the way that you did, because you were sending me a message. Now I can love myself and love my disorder for showing up the way that it can, and now I can release it.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually.
And then I can unblock that energy because you got no vital life force energy going. Well, you have little through the meridian system. It's very blocked. So that's why you would be fatigued.
Flow.
Yeah,
Just
flow.
everything is about coherence and flow. That's what health is. It's just keeping your ki, your chi flowing.
Exactly. All right, I'll start that process.
Awesome. Well, Catherine, you are the lone soldier here at the end, and I want to thank you for waiting so long, being so patient. It was a little harder because I know you guys had to figure out how to raise your hand that way, but that's the easiest way for me not to miss you. So, Gavin Ashley, here he is for you.
Hi there. Do you want to tell me what you're seeing, or do you need a brief synopsis of what I have been experiencing?
Yeah, you can give me a brief synopsis. That's fine.
Well, as far as I can tell, this journey started for me about 3.5 years ago, and I started spiraling downward into extreme losses. Beginning with 2 surgeries within 2 months, partial breast surgery, and a total hysterectomy. And then I had several losses after that, and I'm doing a little bit better than I was. I got diagnosed with Lyme, and I've resolved that. And I also got diagnosed with Epstein-Barr, which I'm working on. I don't have the fatigue that someone else mentioned. I'm experiencing sleeplessness and inner shaking, tremoring kind of thing.
Okay. So the first thing that came up was felt like you were in protection mode. So you're protecting yourself. Felt unsafe. So there was a safety issue going on with you, right? So there were so many things happening to you, and then it's like I have to go into safety mode. Fight or flight. Protection,
Yeah.
protect myself, and there's nothing else I can do because I don't know what else is coming, right? So it feels like your nervous system is overloaded a lot,
Yes.
and so the shaking, is connected with that. But there's like a safety. I don't feel safe, so that feels more childhood.
It feels more
You might
childhood.
not remember. Yeah, you might not remember that. It's pretty early childhood, but there
Okay.
was a feeling unsafe at different times. And so now it's kind of been triggered, through these events, right? So that's what happens. Like we have all these memories,
Yes.
from way back, and then later in life we get triggered, right?
Yes.
So there's a large protection going on. Now, sometimes I notice with people with cancer, the cell actually starts to protect itself with the cancer, which, the body thinks it's doing a good thing, but it's cancer. It's not. It's not really a great thing, but the body is trying to protect the cell from whatever it's trying to protect itself. But our emotions are really driving that, right? So you're kind of in protection mode. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, absolutely. I just want to be out of it now.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So what I want to do is I just want to talk to your little girl for a couple of minutes here and tell her that she's safe and that she's taken care of and that there's nothing to be scared of anymore and that you're protected, within yourself because you're a sovereign being and you're a powerful being and there's no danger, but the little girl inside you feels that there's something dangerous, so it's in
I
protective
can,
mode.
yeah, absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, and the nervous system is just, ooh,
Yeah,
going crazy, right?
yep.
So let's do that. So let's give me a few minutes to do that. Okay, so that's good. It's feeling like it's receiving it because sometimes when I do inner child work, it's a little, will the child receive it, that kind of thing. But it feels like your inner child is feeling that and taking that in. So in your own work tonight, you can just kind of tell that little girl that she's safe, that she's taken care of, And if you just repeat that, tonight, that'll just kind of reinforce that you are safe, that you are taken care of, and there's no danger, There's nothing to be afraid of. And then I'll clear the other process.
Thank you so
How's
much.
that feel? Yeah.
God bless you.
Okay, keep us up to date.
All right.
Well, we are so happy, aren't we, Gavin, that you guys joined us tonight? I mean, like, we literally couldn't be happier. And I think Gavin and I have talked that this is something we want to do a little bit more for people. Even though our work is different, we still move energy. Now, Lucky is actually in one of my courses, and I move energy with words and feelings because those are energetic. So, it's time that we understood the nature of how our bodies really work, and that before we jump the gun and pop a pill or have a surgery or any of those things, seek out somebody who is an understanding of energy, because most of the things that we feel in the physical are energetic in nature, and they can be moved safely and simply. And from my perspective, for every person on this planet whose vibration is raised by the letting go of emotions, by the work of someone like Gavin or any other person who holds space for people's healing, we all help each other. So this is a bigger mission than just us few people that are here tonight. This is really a calling. We have to help each other understand who we are, what we're made of, and how we can be free of some of the emotional chains that bind us and really kind of just live with more joy and more passion and raise
I
the
totally
vibration
agree. Well said.
of the planet, right? So Gavin, thank you so much. I definitely see us doing this again. I feel so validated with spending time with you guys. And again, either jump on my mailing list, you will get the word that we're going to be on again. Facebook group, I have two. Amplified Health Now is one of them. So you can join that. I have one that's Nature's Coast Spiritual Circle. I always post in. And of course, again, it's Gavin at beliefreset.com. I posted that. If you want to save the chat, then all you have to do is click the three little dots to the right of the chat box, and it should allow you to save that chat, and his number is in there. And Pamela says, I don't know if she's saying this privately. Yeah, your son and mine, Pamela.
Okay.
So when we send out the next invitation, I think we're going to give it a few extra days, Gavin, maybe to make sure people can get the word out. But definitely pass the link on, share it, let them know that maybe they're just curious. Maybe you just jumped on here because you were curious about what is this and how does it work. And I figured that that was Sherry because she was the only person who didn't raise her hand. And I'm thinking, oh, she either is amazing and has no baggage, or she's just being curious. And that's fine too, because not everything is for everybody, right? But what you saw tonight, Sherry, validates that there's something happening here, right? I mean, you kind of can't deny that there's something, just because all of us don't have that talent to be able to see that. But there are so many people who can feel and sense the energy that is between us, and the energy that's held us back, because it's held all of us back at some point. So we hope you have a wonderful evening. Gavin would love to work with you. Sure, Charlotte?
Oh, sorry. I just had a couple questions. I think I maybe missed the first couple seconds of this. First of all, I appreciate both Sandra and Gavin. I appreciate your time very much. Thank you. Gavin, I don't know if, could you just give us maybe a quick little summary or talk about like how you knew you had this gift and how long you've been doing it? Maybe even about like, and maybe even like about how many sessions it takes. I'm sure it takes different amounts of sessions for different people to clear things up, but maybe just talk a little bit about that, because yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So basically, I started this 10 years ago, and I felt like I definitely had a gift because I was able to receive all this information. I could just kind of tune into people very easily. But I did quit my job as a computer tech, and I did travel to California, and I did work with some intuitives for an extended period of time, almost a year. And during that period of time, I really developed my skill even greater, right? So it kind of has its roots in some kind of gift, but I really needed to accelerate that to really understand how I could do this like laser focus, right? And actually learn how to clear it, because that was the missing piece for me. Like I could get all this information, but what was I going to do with it? If I could just tell you your belief system, but then not do anything about it, what would be the point, in my opinion, right? That sort of thing, right? So that's the quick origin story, right? And so basically what I devised is this program where I can clear people for 30 days nonstop, 24/7. And that's how we get through so many belief systems, memories, thought forms in such a short period of time, right? So what we're doing tonight, I'm clearing everybody on the call, and everything we talked about is going to be cleared. As we know, there's layers of stuff, right? So when you get put on my program, it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, however long you want to stay on it, and it's nonstop, So I devised that plan because I found that there was so many memories and so many beliefs that we had. And if I did an hour session with somebody, once a week, it wasn't really going to be enough, So that's kind of how I operate. And it's really powerful to be kind of in that energy for a full 30 days to really get through the backlog of that emotion.
And so if it's a 30-day program, do you just do one consult to start and then you do 30 days? Or
Actually, I do phone calls throughout the month, 4 phone calls, we just like check in, have a phone call with the person. But the real remote clearing work is done in the background, 24/7. We just do a check-in, see how the person's feeling.
And so what is your quote unquote like success rate been like, would you say? Like how's it going? Sorry to ask, these are just people wonder, these questions.
I haven't had too many cases where I wasn't able to resolve it. I mean, there's been a few, but it's very rare, But that will depend on how long someone works with me for and what the condition is, right? But I have people, been working with me for years continuously because they just want to stay in that energy. And every month you get a higher vibration, you get more brain power, you get more intelligence, you clear more of that memory that goes back way before we were born into our ancestors. So there's a lot to clear. But, in the initial couple days and weeks, most of people's physical issues are resolved, and then we can move on to like the deeper stuff, right? But the critical issues, like for example, the breathing, that would be something that would be resolved, pretty soon after we start.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for coming.
So we need to send you an email about your fees?
Yeah, send me an email and I can get back to you with all the information.
Yep,
Okay.
I just dropped that link again for anyone who wants to grab it. And even if you just want a brief consultation, or if you just want to work with Gavin for a while, either way, keep in touch. If he's cleared you, which is just about everybody tonight, please let us know how things are going in a few days. We'd love to hear. Either reach out to me or reach out to Gavin. We would love to hear it. And we hope to see you again soon. So thanks so much for coming on tonight. Gavin, thank you again. I see him tomorrow.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And have a
Good
wonderful
night.
evening, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.